Okay, we got a bit of a late start today, but another day of coding here. So let me go ahead and get the dev environment cooked up, and we'll see what we're going to work on. Now, yesterday we worked on a lot of testing. We went through and tested ICBM. We went through and tested Volts Engine, got some things fixed. I also went through and I fixed several issues with the content loader off camera, of course. One of the major issues was if you had spaces in your URLs, you would have difficulty getting your stuff to work. I ended up having to implement like a really crude fix for it. So if you guys end up having additional issues with different characters in your file paths, just report the issue and I'll take care of it within a day or so. Other than that, we're probably going to work on just porting ICBM to no longer use Minecraft code. So that's going to be the target. Why we're doing this, we're going to of course try to fix some of the bugs we discovered yesterday, though that's not really going to be main focus since most of those bugs were superficial and not damaging in any way. Okay, so we got all the launchers basically kind of converted over. We still got a couple blocks left that need to be dealt with. This one in particular could be transitioned to just a JSON altogether with just a listener to handle the multi-block handling. And yeah, actually that's probably pretty much what we could do real quick. Let's see. Yeah, let's set that up first. We'll do the launch pad as well, though the launch pad we got to figure out some way to do the placement and rotation for it. Because right now, this is pretty much a creative mode only item, and we don't have handling to kind of decide how it functions properly. And let's we'll hit it up too on the conversion here. So this is part of the launcher package, and these will be blocks. So we'll just make a directory and we'll call them blocks. Yeah, no, we don't actually need a directory for this. There's going to be so few items in each of these packages that we don't need to spend a huge amount of time making subdirectories upon subdirectories for everything. So we're going to do launcher pad.json, and we'll just pre-init it real quick, and we're going to copy and paste it. And then we're going to have, well, if IntelliJ let me scroll back up, it's launcher parts. There we go. Those are both initialized. We're going to need to copy some data from some of the other code here, because we need this block, which is, yeah, weird to say. We need the block of code that defines what a block is. You guys are probably going to be laughing about that. We don't have any render bound changes, so we can get rid of that line. We're not a multi-block, but we do need to keep the listener array up. The launcher parts do not have a tile entity, so we can get rid of that part. We'll leave our material as, well, no, we'll make it rock. No, actually, no, we'll leave it as iron, because the launcher parts are sort of iron. Actually, let me take a look at this. Okay, we do have another tile, which is tile launch frame, which is a separate block from launch part. So launch part is just the CPU right now. Yeah, that's pretty much what it only is. Bit of a bummer. Means that we'll have to get a bit of extra work to get the launcher frame ported. We could merge the launcher frame back into the parts, but we'll have to do a little extra work to get that to happen. There's no special rendering for it. We'll toy with that in a bit. That's something I'm not too worried about at the moment. So we'll get ahead and yeah, we'll leave the hardness and stuff the same. Mod's the same. The name needs to change. So if we're working on parts, what is parts called? Okay, that's not gonna work. There we go. Oh, well, that didn't help at all. We'll scroll down here and find it here. Okay, so it's ICBM launcher parts is what the name of the block is, which is good. It's not all lowercase, but we'll hit that problem up here later. Okay, we added the wrong file. Slightly distracted. Unfortunately, that means I'm pasting code in the wrong spot. Okay, so this will load by default of what we need. We do need a render handler for it. So let's go find... Actually, no, the standard launcher should have a render handler in here that is a block-based render. Yeah, right there it is. So we'll grab that up. Got a bit too many tabs open. Put that there, add a comma, remove the comma at the bottom, Control-Alt-L to reformat, and we just need to make sure we name our stuff correctly. So we'll put that in there. Our type is actually block, since we don't have a tile render. At the moment, we don't have a tile render. That could change in the future. Default state is block, and I want to say these two are the same. So if we go to parts, box and box top. Okay. And we'll go ahead and set up we're going to have to go down in here. And we're going to have to find where its textures are, and I'm going to have to copy them to a new file. Because these are shared textures now. So we're going to make sure we're noting things are shared textures. So we just want to make a package, and we want to call it textures. It's the same thing we did with the armory mod, just kind of, you have textures now in a global folder. There's no reason to do this. There's nothing that says we have to do this. The only reason we're doing this is because if we have to go find these textures later, if you see a folder or package called textures, you know that's a global texture file, and that the textures in here are shared between more than one block. But if there's a texture contained inside of a single model, I'm going to assume that that belongs to only that model, and if I change it and then all of a sudden like 2 other models changed, well, my bad, but then I wasted time because I could have easily just noted they were globals. So we're good there. This is basically done. This will load. We just need a listener. The listener is going to have to be like a right-click listener that has to do all this. So we're going to need launcher part listener. Implements, or actually we want to do extends tile launch, or tile listener, and then implements action. There we go. And then we're going to need to grab this guy. I still haven't fixed this thing yet, so like I've said before, this is not an idle system. It needs to be repaired. Right now it's what we're going to use because it does work, and it is not a huge problem to have to deal with. It's just a little tedious to have to work with. So we'll continue to use it until we find a better solution. Is there a way to lock this? Apparently not. Okay. And my dog is going to bark. The wind is like going somewhere between like 5 miles an hour outside to like 60. And you'll see a tree just stop moving and all of a sudden just tilt by 10 degrees and then stop moving again. And that flexing is going to cause one of these branches to break. And my dog's barking at the wind and stuff because, well, she's like, what? There's stuff moving outside. I don't know what it is, but it is moving. Plus, I think somebody's lawn chairs are blowing down the street as well. I was looking out the window earlier and somebody's trash can was going down the road and I'm like, oh, I probably should go stop that, but I'll get yelled at for stealing their can. Yeah, I live in a shitty enough neighborhood that that actually would happen. Okay, so we got activation, cool. And then we need to implement block listener because this is a block listening object, so it'll get injected with a location right before it gets called. And then we need to come over here, and we can pretty much just copy everything out of here, and we can shove it into here. We just have to then go sit here and tediously update everything. So anytime we see one of these, we're just going to replace it with this and a comma. There we go. And then we can go through and just change the letters to like Y, for example. We'll have to redo Z a different way because it doesn't have a comma after it, but the Y's do. Wow, apparently a lot of the Y's are whatever. We'll hit these things as we go. So you see the stuff highlighting that we're going to replace. We replace all. It's going to hit up most of our stuff. We'll then just have to come through and we'll have to manually change a lot of this. And this would have to be. Well, actually, we'll change this to like get meta. Get. Do we not have a get meta? We have a set meta. I'm amazed. We don't have a get meta. Get block meta. To be honest, what I probably should do is make this extend pause and then have a whole bunch of location data already built up in the pause class. And I think I'm going to probably do that later is rewrite pause from scratch to act like the Minecraft Vex system. Because I'm going to have to use it anyway, so there's no way out of that. And I'm going to have to recode this to act as a state object pretty soon, so I'm going to have to like fake out Minecraft state system early on, or things won't work properly. Come on, Taz, go. God, so my dog wants covered up. There we go. There's your dog bed. There's your cover. The unfortunate thing is having a little kitty dog. I probably had a big dog, this wouldn't be as much of a problem. It still would be, because, I mean, most dogs do act like kids. It's where the whole thing where if you ever get your vet call you like the father or like the mother of the pet, it's because it kind of is true in some way. This will just be 0. It's not, I mean, if I put -1 here, the problem with -1 is that it'll crash if you try to use it. Yeah, we'll get block metadata here. Need to make an is server check. This would be because I don't think you can check is server off of the iBlock access object. So our is server check can only be pretty much one way. Okay, so we got a couple more things to actually write here. So we need to change this method here, and we need to put a location data here. So I'm going to go int x, int y, and then this one will just be return get block x, y, z. So it'll just pass in the defaults here, because up here we need to basically get access to this. We're just going to have to do this because I use world call a little too many times in this methods chain, and we're just going to make sure that if you click it, the world's not null because we use it there and we use it here. Okay, now we just need to get the standard launcher size. That'll be block launch parts, and then we want this piece. Now those resistances are actually 20. They're higher than so we're going to want to up those so people don't notice the difference of the change. The trick with getting this conversion set up is that the user should notice 0 change. Just like you guys probably don't notice the fact I put insulation over my computer vents. Well, not quite over the vents, near them. So that way we can't hear the CPUs rev up on them anymore. Plus there's two cooling fans going straight through the front of it now. So nice now I can actually touch the case and don't burn myself. So great. Okay, we gotta convert the recipes here in a bit. So there's basically a sheet metal recipe, which is going to be tricky because we don't have a handler for that. But we can do the shaped ore recipe real quick. Why are we actually using? Well, these recipes need to be redone. So to be honest, what we need to do is we need a crafting part inside Volt's engine called like a metal frame, and then we need one called a metal case, and you put the two together, and then you put circuits inside of them to build this recipe up. I believe Basic Industries has those two parts in it right now, and I might just go through them with Volt's engine because they're reusable. Let's see. Yeah, we're good here. We could just scrap this object. I'll just scrap this for right now, and scrap that part. You just need to convert these two. Let me go and find the launcher here and go copy its recipe out real quick, and we'll do the recipes really fast before we finish up the everything else. I think I passed it. Is there not a, oh yes, right, there's no recipe for the standard launchers. The way you make the standard launchers, you have to build a multi-block structure, and the structure itself has the recipe. So what we're doing right now is we actually are kind of more or less making the recipe for the standard launcher. And of course the standard silo is not finished yet, so I'm not gonna, it doesn't have a recipe. But these guys do. Cool. So I want to copy you and take you over to this thing. I'm going to throw this all the way on that side so I stop trying to pan over to find it. So we need two recipes. They're both shaped. One of these is actually going to be a recipe called sheet metal, and then we'll have to program it. And then let's go ahead and copy this out because we can just do that real quick. Okay, let's get rid of the listener here. I think this is finished. I'm going to close this and close that, so I can just pan between these two and not have to keep repositioning every single time. So we paste that, and we just need to replace this with commas. Okay, and we just need to do the same for this, which yeah, that recipe actually surprisingly is slightly different. Not by a huge amount, but it is. Okay. We're just going to copy all of these, and I'm just going to retype them in, but that way I don't have to pan back and forth repeatedly. So do this. Because that will come with the commas, everything already, so all we have to do is just indent here, and then replace each with its respective material. And I'm going to have to make a converter for this one because we're passing in certain things like circuits and stuff. Just do this real quick. Replace that with that. And then replace that with that. Oh, come on. There we go. There we go. That fixes some of our issues right off the back. So now we just need to get the ore names for some of these, which is wrought iron, for example. The only downside with switching to a system like this is I built that whole ore dictionary system to kind of cut down on errors of typing this stuff in. And now because JSON doesn't have a system where you can just reference something by memory value, this is going to cause a whole bunch of issues here. So this is going to be something like tool at hammer. So that's about the only way I can think to do these real quick. This will be sheet metal full stack. Apologies for the coughing there. Alright, let's get the circuit boards real quick. Those are actually pretty easy to do. So it's a circuit advanced, and then we'll have to do advanced circuit because the two are switched. Later I'm going to probably come up with a way to handle these. Ah, man. Guess something stuck in my throat. Okay. Let's see. We now need to get gear iron. Luckily, I think these are all set up correctly. I know they do work with BuildCraft, so I'm pretty sure I got all these right. I haven't done a huge amount of testing with these though, so I've been told by some people I'm doing them wrong, and some people tell me you're fine. It's like, what? Make up your mind, guys. Is there a standard or there's not a standard? The answer is, well, there's a standard, but like nobody really follows it these days. Okay, so this is going to be the tricky part. Because what I want is this, is I want a metal sheet. But I don't think these are ore dictionaried. I think I'm going to have to create a handler to handle these. We're going to go ahead and we're just going to do metal sheet real quick. I have to go through and fix a couple of these. These are like ore at. This is going to be like sheet metal at. So we'll have a handler for that that'll just convert it for us. Ah, more stuff stuck in my throat. That just kind of looks weird. I mean, I could probably register it as a item stack. I've seen thermal expansion do that. It could work. Surprised there is no ore dictionary handling for this already. Probably because most of this stuff would not be ore dictionary compatible. Let's see if we can find a spot where maybe it's ore dictionaried. It's gonna have to be. It's gonna be in the core if it's registered. Even though you're seeing like tons of tool stuff, it's because this is where all the recipes are created. This stuff, it has to be JSON at some point because it's ridiculous to keep track of. I'm not seeing anything in here. So there's probably no ore dictionary handling for it, which means I probably want to. I kind of just need a ore dictionary. So we're just going to go over to our recipe, and we're going to ore dictionary it. So we go ore metal sheet because we have gear iron, and then we go metal sheet. So it's a sheet made of metal, or actually no, metal sheet is our type. Okay, so how the ore dictionary goes is it's your type, and then your material. So you go your gear iron, rod iron, circuit advanced. So your material is advanced on your circuit. So in this case, we're going to go with metal sheet, which is a generic, because what it could be is metal sheet steel would be your material. But we don't care what type of metal it is, we just want a metal sheet. That means we actually probably should encode the item with what type we craft it with. Unfortunately, we're not going to do that, which means reverse crafting this will be a pain. Basically means you probably would never be able to reverse craft it. Okay, now we need to handle this recipe down here so we can then delete this whole section. Hey, look at that. Our recipes are like super simple for the lower one. So we only got 3 items for the lower. And that is advanced circuit. And then wire, pretty much. That's what wire is going to turn into. And then plate, which is just going to be plate. So let's go pop into here. And wire is literally called wire. So this will be ore dictionary. Actually, we're just going to redo this whole line. So we'll go R, comma, wire. Do P. And this is going to be primary plate is what it said? Okay, yeah, primary plate's like ingot still. Or that's primary metal, it's plate still. The fortunate thing is I don't think you can craft this right now. I'll have to test that. If it can't be crafted, I will just fix the crafting recipes rather than changing them. So if the system doesn't have a crafting recipe for it, I'll just make one. And these are all ore, so that means anybody's wire should work in that recipe as long as they register as a wire. I might add compatibility fixes for that. And then we need to put a 1 here. And then we need to come back through here later and do like IC2 recipes. What I may actually do to fix this so I don't have to keep duplicating recipes over and over and over and over again is I may just go tag IC2's circuit board with my or dictionary name. That way his circuits are always compatible with mine. I might do the same thing with thermal expansion. That way I don't have to redo all my recipes. Because if you saw, we have in some of the files 2 to 3 recipes just to handle mod support. And it's a little annoying. Now, if we had 100% custom recipe for each mod, like say you were making your IC2 version and instead of using my tools, you were using his tools, that would be a different story. Then we would have a unique recipe for his stuff, which is actually not a horrible idea. I might go add Greg Tech support here later. This actually shouldn't be hammer. That's wrong. D should be shears. Probably was originally a drill. But you can't squeeze too many tools in here. Because what I actually really want to do with a lot of these recipes, I want to have a crafting table that you go to, you dump all of your tools in there, and then you just make your stuff. So you go, okay, I want to craft this item, and it goes, okay, you need 5 sheet metal plates, 10 screws, and then you can craft it. You can craft the casing, and then when you're done with the casing, then you take the casing, you just put like 3 circuit boards in there, and you're done with some wires. Because after all, the only thing the CPU computer for the launcher is, it's basically a modern computer with a heavier casing, because your modern computer could launch a missile. That's basically the beauty of it. They had back in the Cold War and like NASA era and stuff, they took these massive computers to do things, and they eventually got one of them down to like a lunchbox size to run the lander. But even then, that lander was doing the same amount of processing power as a calculator you would buy from a dollar store, which is amazing to think about. Okay, so we got to fix this because it's referencing a value it can't find, and this is going to be in the listener now. So this would be launcher part listener. Because remember, we actually static this variable out, so we only have to change it one spot. We'll actually go toss this out to a reference object here later, because I need to start following a little bit better standards on handling things. And we'll hit build here, and then we can delete this object now. So delete, and we'll hit build again because it's going to error out in like probably 4 different places. Okay, this is going to error out in a couple more places when I hit rebuild. Here is the spot. So we just need to do the same thing we're doing here. We just need to copy this up, and then we got to go grab our name, which is actually going to be this whole string. And yeah, we're going to have the same problem there. So let me find the creative tab. Kind of wish IntelliJ would always open stuff at the end here, but it seems to like to open tabs always to the right of what you have open. So I had ICBM open and I opened the creative tab, and it just, yeah. I wish it wouldn't do that. It's a little annoying. So what we want to do is we're going to go block equals get block, and we want to go if block drop doesn't equal null, just for sanity reasons. And then we just go block drop. That's good. Hit build again because we probably have like maybe one last spot where maybe I need errored out. I don't think there actually might be one. Yeah, it looks like we're good. So now we need to just run it real quick and see what we're doing here. Looks like We Play Cast is playing Dark Souls right now. Everybody's playing that game right now. I haven't even played the first 2. I don't know if I ever will either. I like the style of the game, but I have yet to have free time to really do any major game other than the ones I already know how to play. Okay, that was our debug tester. I'm sitting here, I'm like looking at my other screen going like, we'll look at Twitter real quick while we wait for everything to run, and I'm like, oh well, I forgot to, yeah, we'll run ICBM only, that way it loads faster. Yeah, I forgot if we're on the right thing. Because I was doing testing yesterday. There is now testing to make sure that the jar loading for the JSON content loader works every single time. So we have a test to ensure that we can load a JSON file from a normal jar, and we have one testing from one with spaces in it. And anytime we find a bug where there's a file load issue, we're going to make a new prototype file that we then can test repeatedly. We're probably going to go through and make tests for every object type in the game. We already have a couple good ones, but we don't have them JUnit tested. We have them physically tested where I have to load the game up and go make sure they're running them myself. But the plan is to get everything automated tested. That way, this will catch like 90% of the bugs. So by default, flat out, 90% of the bugs will be caught. And then the remaining 10% will be like compatibility issues, visual issues, things that you just can't automatically test well. And even then, we're planning on building a system called Mr. Smith, which will catch a lot of the mod compatibility issues for us. Because what it'll do is you'll feed it a bucket of mods, and it'll go through and it'll test all of those mods, and you'll tell how the mods work and stuff. This will feed into the Artilect system because both Mr. Smith and Artilects will both share some of the same code. I'll be teaching the Artilects how to, say, play with BuildCraft, and Mr. Smith will use that same understanding how to test the mod. File contains an unknown type of crafting recipe. Okay. So what we want to do is just go else if type dot equals ignore case. And what was our type? Sheet metal. We actually need to add 2 more recipes to this, so sheet metal is one of them, and the other one is tools. Because we actually have 2 recipes for that. To do make into reg object. Yeah, the reason we'll do a reg object here later is then if another mod wants to add a unique crafting recipe system, they can. And I actually have to go add a unique crafting recipe here eventually. We're just going to return null on these 2. So these 2 recipes won't function properly. And we'll go to implement. Make sure those get implemented. And actually, you know what, to remind me to make sure those get implemented, we're going to drag this over here, open Volts engine, go to the engine, issues, new, add, sheet metal, and tool recipes to JSON loader. Submit new issue. Okay. That way I don't forget, and that issue is there, so if somebody goes like, why are these recipes not loading? It's like, well, the JSON system doesn't have support for them. And it is on the list. So hit debug and that should run. Now let me go ahead and get cracking on that, what I just changed. So, stage file, added if for sheet metal and tool recipes not implemented. Trying to make sure I get commits up on time this time. And then ICBM is what we're working on right now. So we'll go ahead and get that open. Okay, it's loading here. We gotta go test IC2 support and thermal expansion support here later as well, so make sure that all the machines can run off each of the powers. Because right now, all of our stuff is universal, although I don't think IC2 support's set up correctly. We crashed again, did we? Yeah, we did. Runtime exception, make corrections to the file. Legal argument session file is making entry for item linked to R, grid row. What? Making something. Oh, lowercase r for some reason. Yeah, you can't have lowercase letters. Actually, I think it should allow for lowercase letters, but I think it's freaking out because it can't find the letter. Yeah, I can't find R and then the lowercase r because those characters are not the same. So we'll try that again. It's the problem with JSON. I actually am going to make a JSON validator down the road here, and what it'll do is it'll load up VoltsEngine into RAM, and it'll load up all the JSON content loaders, and it'll go, is valid JSON, and VoltsEngine will go, nope, and it'll tell you exactly why it's not a valid JSON. That's the plan at least. Because that will feed into the in-game editor, and then I'll feed in the out-of-game editor. Out-of-game editor will just download a copy of VoltsEngine, and actually, no, the out-of-game editor will just download a copy of Minecraft and all the mods as well. So we'll set it up to do that. Although I may not be allowed to distribute Minecraft, I'll have to figure that out. If I'm not, then you guys will just have to do some kind of special extra step to get it to work. Like install Forge. Actually, you know what? I'll probably just download Forge and run Forge's installer inside your package. That actually would do the trick, because then Forge will download Minecraft, and Forge is allowed to download Minecraft. So we're good there. Some tea. Should hopefully cure the coughs for a few minutes until we can finish this video. And then I can go make some proper food here and some more tea. I would make some coffee, but as explained before, I quit drinking coffee. Even though I always mention I need to go get some coffee, the reality of when I say go get coffee, I go get tea. Oh yeah, we were testing stuff here. So that's still there, and if I pick block, that works, and if I place it, it doesn't work. Okay. We can't place this. Why? Okay, something tells me that is the wrong block. It means pick block broke on the standard launcher. Let's go find the ICBM tab. It's the tab I want. That's what I want, which is the CPU. Okay, it's placeable. We'll still have to register the listener for it. Let me place it like that. Why is there a roll on the bottom? Has this texture just always not had a bottom? I'm okay with this. It's actually not too bad. That's it. So we went ahead and converted that, and I'm going to go ahead and pause so I can go do a couple things here. And we'll be back in the next video to finish this one off and start working on converting these things right here to using the JSON system. And then after that, we only have like the antennas to hit up and the displays and stuff. So we're getting close. Actually, we have the crafting tables too, but we're getting really, really close. So we'll hit that up.